Hey everybody, my name is Jack, and I'm going to explain the entire process of what it took to make this wooden accent wall behind me. In one of our pole barns, we had built a room separate from the rest of the building. It was supposed to be used as a bar or a kitchenette, and really just ended up being an office or a place to store documents. And it was never really used, to the point where we decided that tearing it down for more storage space would be the most optimal thing to do. We had talked about tearing it down for a long time, and I had always said that if we ever ended up tearing it down, I wanted the tongue and groove wooden ceiling to make an accent wall in my bedroom. So when the time came, I committed to it. I carefully tore down all the boards, took all the nails out of them, and set them up on sawhorses to sand. I went over each of the boards pretty quickly, and it didn't take super long. I knew I wasn't going to need all of the boards for my wall, but I still sanded and stained all of them in case somebody else wanted them for a wall or I found other uses for them. The boards are 3/4 inch tongue and groove pine. When I took down the ceiling, I broke sections of the tongue off some of the boards. I of course prioritized the good boards, but I still glued most of the broken ones back together in case I ended up needing to use them. At the time when I was sanding, I wasn't sure whether or not to leave the boards natural and just coat them with polyurethane, or stain them dark. Again, the boards are pine, so I had to factor that into my decision on what stain to use, if any. Within just a few hours of buying it, I decided to go with Minwax's semi-transparent dark walnut stain. I was a little nervous about how it would turn out, since it was definitely a bold choice for stain, considering I half contemplated leaving the boards natural. But I must say I was very happy with how it looked when I started staining. Staining was a much more tedious process since I also had to stain the tongue of the boards, and I ended up spending multiple days on them. I didn't end up polying the boards because I just didn't think it was necessary since they weren't going to be outside, and I also didn't care how shiny they looked in the end. My bedroom wall is 15 feet long, and not many of the boards were that long, so I cut most of the boards so, when installed, each row of boards would add up to 15 feet. To do that, I marked the back of each board with, for instance, R11 for row 11, a measurement for how long the board would be, and how many times to cut that board. Then I loaded up all the lumber in the back of my truck and drove it up to the house. I took the baseboard off my wall and marked out each of the studs to make it easier on myself when nailing, hooked up a brad nailer to a mini air compressor, and began installing. I must say, it was a pain to try and lock down the groove of the boards into the tongue of the ones under them, and try and maintain levelness at the same time. It got easier as I went, but it was still much more tedious than I had anticipated. When the main part of the wall was done, I put the baseboard back on and tried to figure out what to do about the gaps at the edges of the wall and ceiling. Even if there weren't any gaps when everything was said and done, I still kinda planned on at least putting in some quarter round to tie it all together, but some of the gaps ended up being too big for quarter round to hide. We realized that we had saved the 1x4 trim around the ceiling in the original room, so to save myself a trip to buy some trim, I sanded and stained what we had to match the trim in my house, and it ended up matching pretty well, actually. So then it was time for the final reveal. I would say it was definitely an upgrade from the Aqua. I'm really happy with how it turned out. A quick disclaimer, all the music in this video I made myself, which you can listen to on all streaming platforms through the links in the description below. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those down below also. Thanks for watching.